What a turnaround again. In one of the craziest back-and-forth series in NBA history, the Nuggets rebounded from a Game 6 blowout to take a 20-point third-quarter lead just to see the Wolves redux their Game 6 defense and outscore them 42-17 over the next 14 minutes. Back in Game 2, Minnesota's defense put on an absolute masterclass that left the Nuggets and much of the basketball world shell-shocked, only for Denver to come back and solve the Wolves scheme with a bunch of small adjustments that let them dictate the action. By Game 5, one of the key developments was Denver working to switch Rudy Gobert onto Nikola Jokic so he couldn't roam and help on Joker's moves. And the MVP cooked the Defensive Player of the Year in that game, dropping 20 points on 10 scoring attempts when he was guarded by Gobert. But in the final 2 games, Jokic had just 6 total scoring attempts when guarded by Rudy because the Wolves avoided the matchup. Instead of switching Joker's screens, Karl-Anthony Towns usually went under them so he could stay with Jokic and keep Gobert off ball as a roamer, playing the possession on Minnesota's terms. And it almost didn't matter where the screen was set. Cat scrambling to go under here, even if that meant conceding space to Jokic. He goes under at the foul line on this, and Joker almost begrudgingly shoots an open 3. And look at how extreme this one is. Murray sets the pick for Joker. Cat goes so far under he's near the charge circle, and the trade-off is they give up another open triple. Remember, this is the same wrinkle they busted out in Game 5 for back-to-back scores. But in Game 6, the Wolves weren't switching it, so they conceded the outside shot, only the Nuggets were ice cold. And this also works against that dangerous hawk cut the Nuggets love to run. Cat goes way under, Mike Conley lingers, and this is where the Wolves' defense is comfortable. Rudy's waiting at the basket, Towns is banging with Joker, they send a double, and Jokic's pass pulls Michael Porter Jr. out a little because he's worried about Conley jumping the route. Then Conley denies the corner pass. Porter doesn't drive because Gobert's in there. There's an open man in the corner, but he takes a tough 3 instead. Here's the same screen for Jokic in Game 7. Cat goes way under again, and that pass is a little late because Nickeil Alexander-Walker's hounding Murray, so there really isn't a penalty to pay, and he forces Jokic into a tough shot. And in that sense, Minnesota picked the right poison. Jokic and Murray came into the playoffs hitting 47% of their open threes in their postseason career. But in the last 2 games of the series, they shot just 4 of 18 on these wide open triples. And maybe that's luck, but maybe it's fatiguing playing against such a ferocious defense. Either way, they wanted to protect the paint with that scheme we discussed from Game 1. Gobert's roaming in front of the rim, so he takes away Murray's cut. When Jokic screens, Towns doesn't want to leave him open on the roll. Rudy can come help on the ball, and that's Aaron Gordon's last 3-point attempt of the series. This time Gobert's roaming in the paint, and Cat feigns toward Murray before letting him go and recovering to Jokic, and he's always trying to stop Jokic's roll touches, but he doesn't care as much about him popping out for 3. And this is why Jokic took so many threes in Game 7. Denver wants that switch, but Cat goes under again, and Nikola finally lets it fly, and this one to start the game is even better. With Towns thinking about going under at the foul line, Gobert says just get back to Jokic, and maybe Nikola is too open on some of these. As the series progressed, they also threw Jokic and Murray different looks. Instead of sticking to Jokic, Towns late switches to Murray here while Anthony Edwards takes Joker. Again, he leaves him on the outside to help on any drive, and the trip goes nowhere. So when Murray runs the pick and roll in Game 7, he assumes Cat will stick with Jokic, but instead jumps out to contest the shot. And Jokic is able to clean up the glass because of that switch, but for the most part, this changeup worked. MPJ's expecting to have space here. Cat lunges at him instead, and that leaves Joker again, and he could not buy a jumper. So all this keeps the Denver ball handler on his toes, because Gobert can fake like he's picking him up and then retreat to the roll man. And when Murray comes back for it a second later, he does switch onto the ball and completely smothers the shot. There was no box out there, but this gambit came up huge in the comeback, where out of a timeout, Reggie Jackson comes off the screen and Cat stabs at him. That catches Jackson off guard, so he picks it up to hit Jokic, but Cat's stunting just to recover back to Joker, and it's a huge turnover. Then late in the game, Murray's wondering if Naz Reid's going to stay with the ball or recover back to the roll man. He stays just to switch back to Joker when Ant recovers, and then Naz can use his length in the post against Nikola, and that's a massive stand. And watch Gobert come help only to sit on the pass to Gordon, which makes Jokic think about it, and so he's stuck having to shoot. Gobert was sitting on these passes to Gordon on the baseline all series. And there was even one play in Game 5 where Jokic was able to squeeze the pass through, only to get stuffed when Rudy helicoptered around. And he was exceptional at psyching out shooters while playing Gordon behind him. Note that right hand to defend the pass, and then he bothers Murray into a short miss. So Minnesota's scheme took away the heart of the two-man game between Jokic and Murray and kept Gordon in mind as Gobert clogged the paint. Here it is in Game 7, where Jokic has a switch against the slender Jaden McDaniels. Gobert comes to double, then instantly recovers to Aaron, and again that throws off Jokic's lob, and it's a turnover. And this time it's Murray who breaks free and into the back line. He's looking for Gobert to retreat to the lob, only he stays and kills the shot and then tips it to start the break. So Rudy did an amazing job playing multiple players at the same time in tight quarters and just freaking people out into shooting near the rim. And that was one of the primary reasons the Nuggets had so much trouble scoring at the basket in the last two games of the series. It also helps to have great perimeter defenders. Watch Edwards stay connected to Murray through multiple screens on this possession, and then Gobert walls off any drive ideas, and this is why Denver had an 85 offensive rating without Jokic on the floor. Ant switching onto Murray in the third quarter of Game 7 really helped stall out Jamal's big game and turn the tide. And Edwards was amazing with his ball pressure and then ability to go under the screen and just rematerialize right back in front of the dribbler. Here's one from Game 6 where he slides perfectly with Murray's crossover, then ducks under the screen at the last second and makes life very hard for Jamal. And Murray's used to having a size advantage or bullying slender defenders in the post. But Edwards is quick and strong, so he can chase him around like he's handcuffed to his shorts and then stonewall Murray when he tries to bully him. This is from the fourth quarter of Game 7, where Ant's glued to him while bobbing and weaving underneath a series of picks. He finally pushes Murray into Gobert, and there are 4 Wolves in the paint, but Conley's sitting on that corner pass, so Jokic is the only open Nugget. McDaniels fakes the closeout, and they end up with a contested 3 instead. So this defense can help and recover instantly. Cat attaches back to Jokic, Gobert roams to help, Edwards sinks down to Gordon, Aaron actually tries to screen him, but he slips out to contest, then nearly blocks it after the pump fake, and that is superhuman recovery to leap out like that and still pounce like a cat on the second jump. Here's the same scheme from Game 6 with Reid as the roamer. This should be an open 3 for KCP, but Ant runs him off the line and takes away the show and go, and then it's McDaniels' turn because on the reset, he gets picked off by Jokic, only to track down Murray and smother him from behind. My word. So the length and quickness of this defense nullifies some of Denver's cutting actions that are usually effective. And that brings us to the most important part of all of this. Minnesota's defensive rating was nearly 2 points better in this series than in the regular season, and that defense generated easy offense for them, especially when they needed it most. They had a number of defense to offense sequences in that incredible second half comeback. That was a foul, but even the best refs miss a few. But this one was clean as a whistle from Conley, and again, the defense isn't back, and that leads to wide open clutch offense for the Wolves. Remember, in the last video, we looked at how good Denver's half-court defense was during this series, especially with Jokic defending the pick and roll, where they held Minnesota to a 95 offensive rating according to Second Spectrum. During the regular season, the Wolves averaged 114 points per 100 after their opponents made a field goal. Against Denver, that number was down to 110, so they underperform when the Nuggets mostly set their defense. After true set pieces, free throws, timeouts, or dead balls, they had a 110 offensive rating during the season, but were 18 points worse against the Nuggets, meaning the Wolves mustered up just a 103 offensive rating against mostly set or set Denver defenses. But after a defensive stop, Minnesota's offensive rating went from 121 in the regular season all the way up to 128 against Denver. Their defense was their best offense. And this could be subtle too. The poke away here leads to a 4-on-3. Towns is ahead of Porter on the wing, so that means Cat has inside position on the offensive rebound, and Jokic isn't vertical enough to save the day. Given the stakes and competition, this might have been the best game of Cat's life. He made a number of huge shots, especially when Minnesota's half-court offense was completely stuck in the early parts of the game. He did a good job using his strength to bang with Jokic in the post and keep him off his spots, and he mixed up those looks in their funky pick-and-roll coverages really well. There were even a couple plays in the series where Jokic outcut Towns away from the ball, but in Game 7, Cat was ready for that cut, jammed up the Joker floater, and then he held his ground on the block as the Wolves defense did its thing. Finally, I thought Minnesota outlasted Denver in this marathon. They were built to take down the Nuggets, and all that size, length, and depth took its toll. They scrapped Kyle Anderson this game, so they always had two true big men on the floor, and it was fitting that Sixth Man of the Year Naz Reid came in and dominated the final 5 minutes of this series. So, while their half-court offense is still a bit bumpy, this Minnesota defense looks like it's historically great, and after a wild back-and-forth series, that was enough to knock off the defending NBA champions and move one step closer to an NBA title. If you want to work in basketball, I have the place for you. It's Sports Business Classroom's immersive program inside Summer League in Las Vegas. Past instructors in this program have included Commissioner Adam Silver, Mike D'Antoni, and tons of other industry leaders in the NBA and in media. Sign up using the code GREATDAY for $300 off. There's more information in the description box below if you are interested. To support this channel directly, check out patreon.com/thinkingbasketball. That is the best way to support the Thinking Basketball podcast and this channel. Thanks as always for watching all the way through, and especially in Minnesota, I hope you are having a great day.